All right, so we're two guys, one belt.
Two guys in one belt. This beautiful thing of plastic right here.
It's made of 24 karat plastic.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible thing. It weighs a ton.
So, but right now we're going to break down the Stone Cold interview podcast with The Game.
Triple H. The Game. If you caught the Vince McMahon Stone Cold podcast, you had an idea what this was going to be. It's going to be real.
And I personally didn't watch that one.
It was a real shoot. It's real. They try to keep it as real as they possibly can. They want to make it real business oriented. Yeah. Where they, talk about the business.
I feel like they did that well.
First thing they talked about was actually the kayfabe thing, this is a decent discussion. They believe that kayfabe is dead. Which, if you don't understand what kayfabe is like the story, the kind of what the fake part of wrestling is, trying to make people believe the fake part of wrestling.
Yeah, it's pretty much the separation of the character and then the real life person.
And the real life person. And one thing they said was Triple H kept using the phrase the reality era. He said it last year, try to define this year as, or this time era going forward as the reality era. And he said that again tonight. He believes that is as true can get. Now, with that being said, they can't say that kayfabe is dead.
No.
It's almost kayfabe to say kayfabe is dead because you want to make people to believe that it's in the reality era, which is kayfabe in itself.
But Adam Rose doesn't party with all those people all the time. And
I mean, Jesus Christ, we had a 2-month-long story of a bunny.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell me kayfabe is dead. That's just ridiculous.
It was a good thing to talk about, but to say it's completely 100% dead is the wrong thing. Now, I agree that part of it's dead.
Yes. Yeah, obviously, people know, even interviews like this. You couldn't have interviews like this back in the 80s.
Well, yeah, especially
kayfabe.
You've got interviews like this, and I think the biggest thing is Total Divas.
Yes, Total Divas is completely open. I mean, they use real names.
Is like the chillest person in the world on the show, but she's like the craziest person on TV. So how is kayfabe dead?
You can't. Yeah, you can't say kayfabe is dead. Another thing he said that Triple H was talking about is WWE's demographic and their audience. I really liked this. Yeah. I really like what he was saying. Triple H was talking about the WWE universe and its demographic. Austin was talking. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but he was asking about. Some of the internet fans being pissed, and Triple H went out and straight said all the demographics and how they want to appeal to these demographics. They were talking about, he used a reference as you look in the crowd and there's 8-year-old little Tommy, and right next to him is 4 20-year-old dudes that are there with their buddies, and they're here to have a good time.
Next to them is the 40-year-old guys.
Yes, the 40-year-old guys with their families, and then the grandparents are there. You could tell they know their audience. So if you're trying to sit there and they don't know their audience, what their problem is they try to appeal to all the audiences, and it gets a little wishy-washy.
Yeah.
In that point.
But I think one of the I probably sound like a broken record, but I'm going to bring up Total Divas again. Is another thing that they've been working on is grasping the female audience, and I think they've been doing.
They talked about that too.
Yeah, they're doing a pretty good job at that. You're seeing a lot more women in the crowd,
and Triple H understands that. And coming from the CEO, regardless of what you want to say about Triple H's ego and what he is as character in the ring and whatnot, he is a powerful man in that company. So what he says does actually mean something.
One thing he mentioned during the demographic segment is the hardest part of reaching all these people is pleasing everybody.
Yes, and like I said, they have all these demographics.
That's completely fine. That's the way it should be.
It's very tough, and him saying that, I don't know if they were trying to say something like that to kind of, say something about the Royal Rumble. They didn't reference the Royal Rumble when they were talking about all the demographics they have and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it's reasons like that make me believe that whether or not it's they do bad stuff, they're trying to appeal their demographics. Yeah. All of them. He does mention something about the internet, and he even said dirt sheets,
he said the word that
he said the almighty dirt sheets.
It's like saying Voldemort in Harry Potter.
And they were talking about how the backstage part of wrestling is just as much part of the show as what goes on in the ring.
And I guess
true.
That kind of gives some credit to what he was saying, that kayfabe is dead. And
to a point.
To a point, yeah, exactly. But it kind of gives it a little bit more credit.
But I think that's only to the more serious stars. You're only going to get kind of like...
to the serious fans.
Yeah, and to the serious fans. You're only going to give that kayfabe is dead into, the internet side of the crowd playing towards the bigger stars.
Yeah.
Like a Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, when you think of kayfabe is dead, you think immediately Brock Lesnar because he's a beast. He actually gets to the ring. He doesn't sell attitude adjustments. Like, kayfabe is dead.
Code breakers.
Yeah, code breakers.
That was one of the best episodes
That was
I've ever
awesome.
seen.
Another thing I want to touch on, they talk about Vince McMahon. They didn't reference his interview too much. Triple H said it straightforward, straight up, and it's official, folks. It's real. Everything comes down to what Vince wants. Either Vince has an idea and they throw it to him, or someone has an idea and they throw it to the writers and the writers have to write it out. Everything, though, goes through Vince. Everything.
Now, I don't think it's bad that you have one person to decide what goes on.
Don't get me wrong.
I think having it be Vince, who's technically, not out of touch, but he's not as in touch as he used to be.
Yes, and out of touch is the word that's getting thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
It's getting thrown around a lot with Vince. And Triple H proved tonight that regardless of what people think, Vince is still the man. And, and there's a rumor online if Triple H is going to be better, when Vince McMahon is, they say dead, but obviously that's not true. Or if Vince McMahon is not in power, doesn't want that power anymore.
Or just doesn't have as much power.
And so proving that if you think something bad's happening, you're trying to blame Triple H or anything, but it all comes down to Vince.
Yeah.
If you're pissed about a writing thing, a booking thing, this match happened, if you're happy about something good that happened or something like that, it all comes down to Vince. So for future reference, if there's anyone in the higher ups of WWE that you want to be pissed off at,
you can either blame Vince or Cesaro.
Next, we'll just talk about real quick because it was one of the most real parts of the interview. Steve Austin straight up asked, "Is China going to be in the Hall of Fame?" I actually really enjoyed this. I actually really enjoyed the
felt like watching.
It's kind of awkward almost.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's kind of awkward for him. Because they used to date and everything too. If you didn't know that.
Yeah, but I feel like the reference he made a good point. He's if an 8-year-old little girl wants to look at this wrestler that's in the
looks at the WWE Hall of Fame. Oh, China. Who's China?
But he said it's the internet age. She's going to go home and Google him, and what's the first thing that's going to pop up?
And, Triple H had his opinion. Triple H was trying to play the good guy because he said it himself. China deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Plain and simple, all of us real wrestling fans know she did revolutionize women's wrestling, and she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
But it's like the same argument as the reason why Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, and that murderer, I won't say his name. The reason he will never be in the Hall of Fame.
Ray Lewis?
Yes, Ray Lewis. Yes,
oh, okay.
Yes. If she never goes in the Hall of Fame, though, you can't be pissed. If you're a China mark and you think she's 100% deserving, you can't be pissed if she doesn't go in ever.
And it's not like the WWE. It's the WWE's fault that she's not in. It's a personal decision.
And she went in personal life to make some money, and she did, what she did. Like for a guy like Triple H, I don't think it pissed him off that she did what she did.
It's like that the thing your parents always do. We're not mad. We're just disappointed.
Yes, and I think that's what it was. So
I think that's what that.
And he's disappointed because she is a definite Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Next up, Triple H. Just real quick, it wasn't too long. Talked about Brock Lesnar. And this part I really enjoyed, too, because I think you're getting some real honest stuff. I love when Steve
kept saying he's white hot.
Yes.
He's white hot.
And he is, folks.
But I think we will be able to tell after WrestleMania if this whole podcast, if Triple H was telling the truth for the whole time.
Triple H said about Brock Lesnar because he asked if he's going to go back to the MMA and back to the UFC and everything like that. And Triple H says, we're working on it. And he said straight up, it's going to come around to what Brock wants to do.
Yeah. I think they already know what's going on. So to say that is kind of misleading. kind of misleading.
We hope everything he was saying was straight shooting and he was telling the truth, but we never know.
Come on, Paul.
Damn it, Paul. Next up, talked about that Phil Brooks guy. Talked about CM Punk.
And this was pretty close to the end of the podcast. And as soon as Stone Cold brought it up, my eyes opened up wide.
Yes.
And I was paying attention.
And Triple H kind of did like this smirk, knowing that he probably was going to get asked the question, so he was like, all right. Because CM Punk in his podcast with Cole Cabana talked about how Triple H was egotistical, trying to add him to the storyline in 2011 and everything like that, and about how some of that mentally it kind of got to his head, and when he quit, him and Triple H left on bad terms. And Triple H said that he never had a problem with Punk. One thing he referenced that I really enjoyed him saying and hearing was that he would hear all these rumblings about how CM Punk was pissed off about this, was upset about that, was upset about that, and then Triple H would go to CM Punk, and CM Punk would just be like, no, everything's fine, Trip. Everything's fine, Hunter. It's okay. But from what CM Punk said and what Triple H said, Triple H is trying to obviously
mend bridges.
Mend bridges, yes, without a doubt. Because I think this time last year, he was pissed. I mean, I don't think he'll ever say it, but he was pissed about Punk leaving. I don't think he took it so personally, just business-wise. He was very upset about him leaving.
And he had a reason to be. I mean,
yes, he did.
It was a great question to ask.
Yes.
Because, everybody wanted to hear it from the guy who's pretty much running the company right now. And for him to say that, he didn't actually say it, but he said if Punk ever wanted to come back, the door's open.
Say never. Yeah. That's the phrase that's been thrown around a lot. And they started with this, then they went back to it later on in the interview. Yeah. My personal favorite part, at least from Triple H talking, that I enjoyed was him talking about NXT. Loved that. Probably my personal favorite part of the podcast when you started talking about NXT.
I think my favorite part about the NXT segment was the admiration Stone Cold had for Triple H in starting it.
You know what they're saying? They're saying thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, because Vince would have never done something like this. If Triple H wasn't in the position he was, we would not have NXT.
NXT is a great product.
It's a great product. And you know what it is? And Stone Cold asked him a question, is it kind of its own animal? Is it even a developmental territory? And Triple H responded, yes, it is its own animal, but it is definitely a developmental territory. He mentioned nothing scripted over there. That's awesome to hear, because there's a lot of scripted stuff promo-wise.
Oh, yeah, promo-wise, that's what they're talking
and they're trying, what he said was, they're kind of on a script, but they're not. What they say is what they want them to talk about.
They give them a general idea about how to go about it.
And then they say, go put it in your own words.
And that's why it's so great.
And not a lot of guys in the WWE do that. So what they're trying to do is get these guys comfortable enough so when they get to the main roster and they're good spots, they can say, hey, this is what we want you to talk about. Go put it in your own words. So promos come more natural.
Is that working?
Is it working? For some people, yes. For some people, no. That's also another thing he talked about. Was NXT right for anyone that wants to come to the WWE? That was actually a fan question, I think.
I think it's right to have that sort of developmental and have a fan base for them by the time they come up. But I think the execution going from NXT to the main roster is the main problem they need to work on.
And you know what the difference is? It's I hate to do this because it's always going to come down to this, but it's between Triple H and Vince. Triple H is in full creative control. Whatever happens in NXT, it's coming down to Triple H, what Triple H wants done. And he's creating exciting TV down there. And then he comes up here, and then Vince has
a better product.
Yes, and then Vince comes up here and has a completely different perspective of those certain talents.
Yes.
I mean, you got guys, he mentioned guys like Finn Balor. He had a great story about Finn Balor, how the first week Finn was there, he walks up to him, and he was like, is everything okay, man? He's like, I'm just really overwhelmed. Like, the details.
On a side note, he also mentioned that NXT was more than just talent development. Mm-hmm. It was backstage development. And I think that is perfect, and that is what they need, because
they're saying they're training like cameramen and people doing everything. Like directing stuff. Like that is like so mind-boggling awesome.
He even mentioned that some guy would mention a jib cam, and Triple H is like,
didn't know what the hell it was.
Jib cam?
So even Triple H is
learning from these new guys, and that's what's going to help the future generation, is having them work with the talent now to know the good spots and what they're going to do at what angles and stuff like that.
This interview and him specifically talking about NXT made me believe that with the right hopes and the right thing, that NXT can create really big stars. Next thing, just real quick here, Triple H was talking about how tough it is to write 3 hours of Monday Night Raw.
I thought this to be pretty interesting.
And then he made a suggestion that he would like to see Raw go back to 2 hours.
But then
that's a corporate thing, though.
But then he said, Vince wants it 3 hours
Yes.
as well.
Like I said, it's
not only just board members and stuff like
yes,
that.
it's an advertising thing. It's a TV thing. USA, I think, probably wants them still 3 hours too.
Yeah, but he said the 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour is the hardest to write for because that's
Yes.
a lot to write.
Yes, 3 hours every week, plus the 2 hours of SmackDown you write the very next day. I'm glad he said that because I do have my opinions. I do believe Raw should be 2 hours, me personally, because it's so hard to write 3 hours of Raw. He wants women to get more in-ring time, which I respect. He mentioned the likes of Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and we can even go on and personally say people like Paige and the Bellas and Natalya.
They're very deserving.
Very
more
deserving.
airtime.
I respect the holy hell out of Triple H for that.
Yeah, I think they should, on a weekly basis on Raw, should every once in a while have 2 Divas matches, but
Which they do
every now and then. But sometimes they don't even have a Divas match.
Yes, and then have like a nice Divas segment.
Yeah, they should always have at least 1 Divas match, if not 2.
If anything you get away from this, folks, you can shit on or anything like that. You got to have some kind of sympathy for Triple H.
Yeah.
He is trying his damn best. He's running NXT to the T. It's a beautiful product down there. He's going to get his input in as much as he can on the main roster. Him as a character on TV, I think he's doing a great job. He's going to wrestle Sting at this year's WrestleMania, what it seems like. And that's the thing I took away from this.
Does this guy ever sleep?
And that's another thing. This guy has a family. This guy is working so much. He would talk about how he would wake up, work for 8 hours, and forget to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, like I
100% believe that.
I think Triple H is very. He does have a big ego. He is God, Triple H. But I have much more sympathy for him now, realizing that he wants what's best for the fans, for the company, and not just a certain kind of fans, not just the kids, not just the women, not just the fans. He wants the young males to enjoy the show. He wants the kids to enjoy the show. He wants the females to enjoy it. He wants everybody to be happy to be wrestling fans.
That is the guy who should be running this company today. And Phillip Brooks, we're looking for your reaction to this.
2 guys, 1 belt. Thanks for watching.